Hello friends, welcome to VFX Pipeline channel, and in this video we will see another example of how you can create custom user interface inside Blender using Qt and PySide2. In my previous video I showed you how you can create a CamController using PySide2, and I showed you everything like how you can create that inside my video tutorial. If you haven't checked out, please go and check. Link you can find in the description of this video and in the I button. Alright, so before start, please guys, if you haven't subscribed my VFX Pipeline channel, please subscribe to VFX Pipeline, because this will appreciate me to create all these kind of informative videos for you. So what's interesting in this video? Let's start with the concept, the thing which I found from Maya. And let me quickly come to the point. We are going to create similar to command port inside Maya. If you are familiar with Maya or use Maya, there is actually a command port inside Maya. You can start a port inside Maya, and that's basically kind of a socket where client program may connect with a socket inside Maya. So you can send some Maya commands inside outside Maya, and with that it is very useful for pipeline stuff, right? But now for Blender we will create more than this, more than Maya command, because we will see something live, and we are going to use some threads and all. So let me show you the final product first, and then we'll jump and create that same similar to command prompt command port inside Blender. Okay, so this is our Blender. We'll come to this later. First let me show you the application itself. This is very simple. If you see the lines of code, it's only 80 lines of code, and with that this is actually our command port. And let me just start this. So I'm running this standalone right now, and this will be the user interface for our command port. And in that command port, basically you have one option, one spin box where you can actually put the port number, and you can click on connect. Then it will show you the status connect, and whatever output of execution of commands will be displayed here. And let's see how it works. So to send command inside this command port, you can use client, and the client is also very simple. You can see here like only 23 lines of code, which you can actually connect to our command port. And remember, right now this is what you are seeing is a standalone. This is no Blender involved in this. We will take this inside Blender. First we will see that outside Blender how it works. So let's just start our server. So with that, actually we started our connection, and our socket is open on this port 8055. Okay, and now you can see the status is connected. Now from the client, if you run this client, it will send these two lines to our command port. And why I pick this in a list format, because if I want to send multiple lines of commands, then I can just pass a array or a list with all the commands in the list, and then one by one it will execute. So let's just see first how it works. So here you see that it's executed, but it's saying that BPY is not defined. It's fine, because BPY we are sending a command which Python don't recognize that, so that's why we are getting error. And also you see some more information like the command received from which IP address and other information like command port number. Okay, so this is our client and this is our command port. I will show you this code also once we will take this inside Blender. But before that, let's see, if you disconnect that, then the log will be clear, and run it again, run client, and then you will see an error like this is actually refused. So this is basically we are actually having a try except, and we are actually using try and except, we are catching all the connection refuse error and printing, instead of like getting some error and our application looks so many errors, correct? So client is clear. You can use this client for any other application also, like you can run this command directly from Maya also, so it's fine, because there is no extra third-party library used in this. For example, I was thinking to use RPYC for this, but I end up with socket because this is available for every software like Blender, Maya, Houdini, everywhere. So no problem with this, just using the default library. Here just for interface I use PySide2, but since PySide2 is also not a problem because our Blender is also have PySide2, correct? Okay, now let's just go and run this inside Blender and see how it works inside Blender. So for that, what I have to do, because I was running this standalone for testing and development, so I just comment the BPY, and BPY is for Blender Python module, so that is required. Another thing which I commented is this. You should actually, you cannot just call the UI directly from GUI. Here it's fine, but when you are using as a add-on, then it's not a good idea. So my module add-on name is VFX pipeline, so it will be from VFX pipeline.gui, and with that it will be fine. Okay, so let's just see Blender and how we are, where we are. Let's close this and run the command prompt. It's always good idea to start Blender with command prompt. With that, if any error, you can see clearly inside this. So Blender, and Blender started. And in my previous video I showed you how you can create these UI elements. So I created this CamController, and this you can find inside my previous video, which is this video I already showed you. So now we have another option here, which is command port. So if you click here, you see that our this Qt UI is actually now appear inside Blender. So that means if we send some commands to this command port, it will execute inside Blender. Let's just clear everything. Maybe now let's just go again. Let me put this side by side so at least we see both. So let's keep this in our left side, and in right side we have our PyCharm. So with that we can easily send the commands and we can see the output also. So let's just start our command port, and command port is not connected at this time, so let's just connect that. And right now we in our collection we have camera and lights. So let's just send two commands. One is create a cube and one is create a cone, and cube will be on the location will be in the X10. So let's just run this. Perfect. So here you can see that we already received the output here, and we will see what is this output. The output is, you can see first from which IP address you receive the command. And so if you have multiple user connect with Blender, so you can see the IP addresses. And where is our cube? So here we can see our cube also, because the cube we set the location 10, x equals to 10, so that's why we are see this inside 10 position. So you can send any custom parameters to any of this object, and you can send any command to Blender and it will execute inside Blender. And also you will see the status, which is it's showing that it's finished, right? So let's just go and see the other thing. Let's just create some mistakes and then we'll see. So for now, let's just go and disconnect that and run it again. Again you will see the error. So connect, and here you see that it's finished, so that means it's created a cone here. Let me just create some weird command. For example, primitive cube add AA, and so I just make some spelling mistakes here, and let's see that how Blender will show us these errors. So let me just run this, and here you can see that Blender will show you that failed, because whatever is the Blender error, because Blender says that this calling operator is failed because it's not found. Okay, so with that it is very easy for you to communicate with Blender from outside Blender. So maybe if you have a standalone application that you want to, for example, if you have a pipeline tool where you want to import the assets inside Blender, or export a scene, or connect your other applications like Maya, Houdini with Blender, this will be very useful in that kind of situations. Okay, so you get the idea about all this application. Now let's just see the code that how you can do this this is very simple. As I showed you majority of the code where you hear, this is kind of a standalone tool which just using the default socket library, Python library. You no need to install like pip install socket, because when you install Python it's by default install, and the core logic is actually using this socket. But another thing that I want to tell you here is all these commands which is executing here, they are executing on a thread. So that's why we are not seeing any UI freeze when we are executing these commands or whenever we are running this Qt window. So how I use that threads and how I created all these classes, let's just see in our code full. Let me just put it inside, and so you can easily see. Okay, so this is our code, and here I will start from the very beginning. What is this? And this is the main file for command port. So here I just use import the UI file which I created, and UI file, if I can show you, which is inside GUI, the command port UI. And this file is basically from our command port UI file. I just save it here, and after that I just convert using my UI external tool which is inside PyCharm. And if you don't know how to create this, please go and check my previous videos where I showed you how you can create all this stuff. So majority of all these things I already explained in my previous video, so that's why I'm not going so deeper. All the videos which is related to this you can find in my channel, and that will help you to pick up all these points. So this is just to run a Qt UI, nothing serious here. Then I have a toggle connection button which you can use. See here, let me just see it. Okay, let me just go inside Blender first and open VFX pipeline command port. So here you see this toggle. So with this it's connecting and starting a thread, and when I click it again it's disconnecting and stopping the thread. So this toggle is basically this function, and this is on connect PB clicked. So push button click, then this toggle connection will happen. Start connection is the one which actually changing all the UI, because changing the color, changing the text and all. And interesting thing is this, which is execute the thread, and this is our thread which execute our commands in our separate thread. So which is here, this is the class, and here you can see that command execution thread, and this is basically qt core.q thread. Let me just show you the init function here, and inside there we have the only thing that you should see which is important is this part, which is here. Whenever this thread start, it will create a new socket connection, and it's bind and listen to that connection. And whenever it's run, it's just see it's always run. So you can see this is while true, so that means whenever it's active, it's always looking for new commands to execute. And the thing is, whenever the new connection accept, then it send a output to our file. Hey, we can see here, so this output populate whenever a user sends some command. So with that, here you can see that self.output.omit is actually adding some output here. And another thing that you can see here, which is this part. Here you can see eval is basically evaluating the string as a Python command. I read many articles, actually this is not safe or cannot use for production, but if you guys knows the better option for that, please share with me. I also want to learn this. But for me, at this point, I just use eval, and this working fine for me. And as I showed you also that it's working. I'm just sending some data in a string format and just using eval to execute inside Blender, and Blender treat this as a command, and it's creating the content which I want to create. All right, so another thing is then whatever output I'm getting, if it is any error, for example, let's say if I'm sending some weird command, then Blender throwing some error, all those exceptions I'm just printing out here inside my output terminal. Perfect. So that's it. This is the only recipe for that. And then we have a stop, because that's very important. Otherwise, if you start a thread and also you start a connection, socket connection, and if you don't close those connection and socket properly or thread properly, then you will see errors. And also you, whenever you, if you restart Blender, the chances are you will see the connection error or the socket error, which shows that the port is already in use. So make sure when you should have a stop, which is very simple. You just need to write 2 lines, whatever socket you have. So for example, here we started this socket, so socket.close and self.terminate. This will actually terminate this entire thread, and this is a stop method which we created here. But where we call this, we call it here inside end connection in our main class, main UI class. Here you can see that command port, and here you can see this where is this end connection, and this inside end connection, you can see that we are from our execution thread, we are just hitting this method, that stop. So this will kill this will terminate the entire thread, and we are safe to exit Blender. Okay, another thing is update output. It's also very simple. This is when you are inside Blender, and you see whenever you send some commands and it will update here. And how this will update, because you are not refreshing anything, everything is live going on here. So let me just simply send some commands here. This is correct. Okay, so let me go there. Let me start Blender from command line. All right, so let's just go here, VFX pipeline, command port, connect, and go back to our IDE and run it again. Perfect. And let's see here. So here you can see that we are receiving some output here. Perfect. And also we see that commands are executed here, and these commands are actually populated using our command port update output. And this update output is always receiving output from our thread. And here you can see that we created a signal, and so output is our signal, and when we are emitting this output signal whenever we receive some message or whenever we created some event. So whenever you have a new connection accepted, then you just emit this. So here you can see there are emits here, and these all emits. Whenever this signal emits, here we will connect this signal to this function, and all the output from that will be passed. And we make sure that we are passing a string to protect some of the errors for text edit output. So with that, we are able to see all the output inside Blender command port. So this little tool, the idea is very simple. Just send some command and execute inside Blender and see the output. And another interesting thing is this. So most of the time, if you are using some port which is already in use, you can disconnect that and use some different port, whatever you want, and you can connect again. But make sure your client also send from the same command port. So here you need to change the port number which you are using. So this is how you can use this command port, and you can create your own command port. It's very simple. The idea is very clear. The interface for Blender is really good and open for any kind of pipeline tool development. And I'm also thinking about like creating some more interesting tools for Blender, and this is just like few R&Ds which I'm doing right now, and I'm sharing side by side with you. So with that, I'm getting some good response from you guys also, because you appreciate my video which I uploaded 2 days back. And here you can see that there's almost 32 likes and no dislikes. So I appreciate this, that you really appreciate my work. And I hope from this video also you guys learn from new stuff, and it will help you for you. And the codes and the entire repositories will be, I will update inside my GitHub. So I'm still working on this, and I don't want to make some broken code there, so because this is still in raw stage. So that's why, but soon it will be all available on my VFX pipeline channel. And this daemon will be available already as a package, so you can go to preferences and you go all the way, so VFX pipeline, this, you can see this add-on and all the Qt stuff will be appear here. So later in coming videos I'm going to connect Maya and Blender together, so we can actually make a smooth pipeline sending assets to Blender, and communicating with Maya is very easy. We can create a bridge between Houdini and Blender also, and also we will create some sort of a small asset management software which is actually I mean checkout and publish system for Blender, so you can easily submit your files to server and with proper naming convention. So there will be so much fun stuff will be coming soon for inside VFX Pipeline channel, and you guys will be definitely learn from this. So that's it for this video, and I will see you in my next coming videos. Please guys subscribe to VFX Pipeline channel. I will see you in my next videos. Thank you.